everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 5th, 2019 City of Council meeting. Can you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Follino?
Here.
Vice Mayor is absent. Councilmember Herman?
Here.
Councilmember Matilde?
Here.
Councilmember Brolio?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next is approval of the agenda. Is there any staff or council member that wishes to amend the agenda in front of you?
Madam Mayor, I have made a mistake on regular agenda item 7C. The public hearing should include the adoption of the resolution.
Okay. Are there any other amendments? Is there any public comment? Okay, with that, we will, no, public comment on the agenda.
Oh, on the agenda
Yeah,
now.
yeah, sorry. If there are no other staff or council comments or public comment on the agenda, I'll make, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Now public
Now
comment.
public comment.
So, yeah, hold on 1 second. So next is public comment, and this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda. State law prohibits the city council from acting upon matters not listed. Matters raised by the public will automatically be referred to staff and placed on the next meeting's agenda. So with that, public comment.
Okay, well, I'm Charlotte Wheeler. I'm here for True Properties. We own the Angels Hotel Apartments, downtown Angels Camp. And so I'm here to put us on the next agenda that's coming up about us protesting the sewer and water bill. Our sewer and water bill has gone up 6 times instantly, and so we're protesting. And that's it.
Okay. So with that, direction to staff on what to do next.
Perfect. We are working with the Wheelers, and we are determining and doing an analysis of their water and sewer, and so we are yet to have a decision from the city engineers. Once we have that information, I think then we could submit it to them. If they still wish to protest the decision in the bill, they can bring that information to the city council, and then at which point I would make sure legal counsel is present for that discussion as well. And that's all the information that I have at this time.
Okay, and then there's one other thing that I'd like to have on the agenda.
On the agenda, when we get to that agenda, oh, you want to add, okay. Not on this agenda, but the next meeting, okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to bring up Bird's Way.
Okay.
It's, the road is going deeper and deeper and sinking, and we've had Melissa out and Dave Myers out, and they've looked at it, and it's even sunk more since then, and we were told that the City of Angels did not have enough money to work on it at the time, but we're very, very concerned. We talked with other neighbors in the area, and they're very concerned about it. So I think it's something that we need to look into.
So at this point, I can't commit either item to the agenda at this point in time, but we can direct city engineers to meet with the Wheelers to discuss their concerns on that project.
On the Bird's Way? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, thank you. Next is item 4, which is report out of closed session. Earlier tonight, the council went into closed session. It's conference with labor negotiator. At this point, direction was given to staff.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item number 5, Museum Commission Interview and Appointment.
I don't see
You don't see her?
Mark here.
Okay. So do we, I mean, if they're competitive, or can we go ahead and just do the appointment?
My recommendation,
Yeah.
having met her and been in attendance at the Museum Commission meeting, is that they were supportive of this recommendation, and I would recommend your appointment.
Okay. With that, is there any other council comments before we make a motion? Or turn it over to public? No? Is there any public comment on this item? No? Okay, is there a motion to the appointment of Linda Nard to the City Museum Commission?
I'll move to appoint Linda Nard to the City Museum Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Veronica? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Next on the agenda is consent. The items A through F. Is there any council member that wishes to pull a consent agenda item?
I'd like to pull F for discussion.
Okay.
And I'd like to pull D just for a little quickie comment.
Linda? Anything?
No.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Okay. We will pull item D and F. And is there a motion to approve A, B, C, and E?
I'll move to approve A, B, C, and E on our consent agenda.
Is there a second?
So second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. Okay, Alvin, item D.
On item D, I would just like to have, it's $12,300 a year, and I know we talked about this and it was in budget, and this is going to help you guys immensely. But could we get updates on how it's working for you and if it does meet? Because I remember you guys were pretty excited about having this, if I remember right.
Yes.
So just to give us updates on it and let us know how it's working and if it's working up to your expectations. And that's all I wanted on D.
Is there any other comment on D? Okay. Can we move those two into one motion when we're done with F? Okay. Item F.
I was reading over the materials that are going to be purchased with the money. And I was wondering, is this already kind of a set in stone thing? I guess this is for Scott, Chief Ellis. For instance, are you familiar, you're familiar with this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, item 4, materials such as shirts and banners, are we talking for the students, for?
Yeah, it's for tobacco prevention stuff for students, but they can also, I mean, if we have an opportunity to go out and do events, obviously farmers market's gone, but things like similar to that where we can go out and advertise tobacco prevention, it would be for things associated with that. Primarily for the high school and the elementary school is what we were going to purchase them for. We haven't even started creating a list of exactly what we want to get based on the modification that we just recently did, but that's what those are for.
Okay.
There's just to add, there's a Friday night live tobacco prevention group of students at the high school that's leading their tobacco prevention program that Officer McDermott's part of leading that group.
Okay.
So some of what we purchase is going to be guided by those students and what they see as
Good.
being beneficial to tobacco prevention.
Good, I like that. And then, I was wondering, in regards to 7 and 8, which is, 7 is a digital camera and accessories for photographing and advertising educational tobacco prevention programs and activities. And then number 8 is an iPad, purchase of an iPad and digital video software for video creation of tobacco awareness programs involving both youth and adults. So are you guys going to start kind of putting videos together, et cetera? Do you have
That's the goal.
capacity?
Yeah, that's the goal. And this is, I hate to say it's all on the back of Officer McDermott, but her in working with the students at the school, and that's the idea behind it, is to come up with some sort of video, anti-tobacco video that the school can be a proponent of, I guess, and also put out on their social media and things like that.
Okay.
To get the word out, just that Bret Harte is no tobacco
Right.
use and tobacco's bad and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and how large is that group, do you know, approximately, the kids?
I'm guessing maybe 10 to 15 kids are involved in the group.
Okay. I was just wondering, I mean, I'm looking at, I know that it's all grant money, and I like that. I just wanted to know about the involvement of the kids, because I know a lot of, especially high school students, you never, they can be interesting, so shirts, et cetera, if, without their input of their own age group, you could really miss the target.
Yeah.
As we really super cool adults can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the kids are very involved in the direction, the course that this prevention program takes.
Excellent, okay, and I like the whole program, and I think it's wonderful. I just did want to see what involvement and the networking.
Sure.
So
Well, we
that's
had,
great.
so last year, we obviously had leftover funds because we weren't able to expend them because we couldn't use the SRO money, so we had to transfer it into this year's and kind of just came up with a list of things, of anything we could imagine that could be tobacco related that not only can we use as for the program, but for the police department too, and resource wise, that we'll be able to use long term. That message board, I mean, was huge for us, and we've seen the benefits of that citywide with both the tobacco prevention and for the citizens of the community to get messages out. I think that was huge for the community meetings and the PSPS stuff, and parking it in front of City Hall like we did. I think that got a lot of people's attention to know what was going on. So that's kind of when we were looking at these things, we're not only looking at the tobacco portion, but also how does this benefit the city long term? If this tobacco goes away, we're still going to have this stuff, so we want to make sure that we're purchasing things that we can use long term.
Yeah, I really like I said, I liked the involvement of the kids and trying to hit the target,
Yeah.
because they are a moving target.
Well, she's also, and we have to figure out how to find this nexus too, but Jody's also they have a tobacco diversion program, so they've got kids that get caught on campus with, vape pens or whatever, and those kids will be sent to their diversion program, which Jody leads, and I'm hoping to, as part of that, make some educational material a portion of their diversion where they're having to research tobacco and that type of stuff and the detriments of it to the body and that kind of thing. And I think everybody has seen in the news and everything lately the seriousness of those the vape pens and the consequences to kids and adults.
Excellent. Well, good, I'm glad. This is exciting. I like it.
Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm good.
Is the problem with tobacco greater than the problem with marijuana? I know it's off the grid a little bit. Just wondering.
Yes. I mean, I think the use of tobacco is a lot higher than the use of marijuana. Not to say that there's not an issue with marijuana. There's absolutely a use in teens with marijuana. And a lot of times they go hand in hand where they'll have a baggie of marijuana and a vape pen,
Yes, I was thinking.
together. I think there's probably a high probability and percentage that students that are using marijuana or vape pens are also using the other.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of go together, and the way these products are made, they can commingle them to where they're introducing marijuana into the vape pens themselves, which is kind of a difficult issue for us because to determine what those capsules are is not like a bag of marijuana where you go, yeah, that's a bag of marijuana, this is a capsule full of a liquid, and trying to determine that that's marijuana can be difficult because our testing systems aren't able to measure that type of a liquid, basically. But they definitely coincide. We'll get a kid that's got a backpack full of cigarettes, vape pens, and marijuana. It's just kind of the way it goes.
Thank you.
Why isn't Mark Twain involved in it with the
They-
6th, 7th, and 8th grade?
They are.
Okay,
and-
I just saw a lot of
Yeah.
EHS.
When we initially wrote the grant, we were focusing on Bret Hart
Okay.
initially, because that's where Jody was at, and that's where she was dedicated to. This year, since we kind of rewrote things with the grant, and Jody being allotted part of her time at Mark Twain, they're involved in it at the same level. So that information will be shared cross schools, and Jody's hoping to also use like the leadership groups at Bret Hart to share the anti-tobacco messaging with the kids at Mark Twain.
And
Awesome.
do you have the age group or the grade level over at Mark Twain where you start? Because unfortunately, I think that it starts a lot younger than we would ever suspect.
Yeah, I'm sure there's statistics out there that the county is pretty good with their statistics on that information. I don't have it, obviously, but I would guess 6th, 7th, and 8th grade on, 6th grade on some occasions, and as they get closer to high school age, it goes up. There has not been a noted problem at Mark Twain where we've actually caught, I don't know that we've caught any kids with tobacco or marijuana or anything at Mark Twain as of yet. Not to say it's not occurring, and especially when it's occurring at home with parents that are not super responsible, that we just may not know about it yet.
Right.
And it takes until they get into high school that they become a little more daring with what they bring to school.
Any other questions, Scott? Any public comment? No? Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve D and F of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, next is the regular agenda. First is item A, adoption of resolution 1952, declaring a local state of an emergency due to October 26, 2019 PSPS, and authorization for additional spending associated with the event on October 9th and the 26th, in the amount not to exceed 50,000. Melissa?
Thank you. I have no further information to add to the item. We are seeking your approval and ratification of my declaration of the local state of emergency. And we are submitting this with a request for funding to Cal OES. Then we are also submitting to the state some available grant funding for equipment, and we're hoping between the two programs we might seek reimbursement for the equipment expenses and the operational expenses. At this point, no guarantee of funding from anyone. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have. And as you can see, we included some estimates that these events cost us in terms of time, less in terms of equipment costs the second time around, but more labor costs the second time around because it was a longer event.
When will we know, what is the prediction on when we'll know the economic impact of these events?
So we met with our sales tax community services representative, and we had an in-depth conversation about that. And so we hope within the next quarter or two, we might have the report from this first quarter, and we might be able to see how those days affected us. We looked at where we have the biggest sales tax contributors citywide. Many of those businesses did stay open. So we wonder if there will be that much of a decrease. We look at our fuel and food. And then we also looked at the fuel lines the day before. So we're kind of wondering if there's a little bit of a shift. And then we also looked at the fact that the city comes back online first, typically, compared to the surrounding county, and wondering if that has any economic benefit over the subsequent days following. So the jury was still out in terms of how measurable our impact to sales tax TOT can be. We do know that we have managed and can report to the cost, and right now we're about 50,000 into it this year. So we also do have some more capital needs. The water treatment plant generator is most likely not going to make it through the next round of shutoffs. And then we also could save ourselves a lot of labor by getting a backup generator for the Angels Oaks lift station. And so that's another area that we're looking to maybe make some investment or get some grant funding to support. But right now, we have control of the cost side, and that's known. We don't know on the revenue side the impacts. I know. Jury's still out. It was an interesting conversation. But
Yeah,
I
it will be
wonder what the
interesting
prediction
to
were.
see, you know. I know that a lot of businesses, you know, obviously had to close, the majority of them. I do know the ones that did stay open, of course, were packed. Lines were long in those stores and
Save Mark Helen.
right after, well, before and after the gas stations, you know.
So
Yeah.
we had reports, for example, of fuel supply going away. So that there's that much fuel sold in the days preceding the event. So
Right.
we're kind of interested to know how it all
Yeah.
shakes out
Yeah.
over the course of the month.
And I do know that over at Worldmark, people were leaving like, you know, rats.
droves.
Getting off a sinking ship.
Tourism.
But we'll see what happens. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm most worried about TOT, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So we do know, though, that Muni Services is projecting lower than estimated sales tax return to the city. So they gave us an update that their conservative sales tax projections for us going into budget are about $20,000 lower than they thought. So their conservative is even more conservative, less, yeah.
Great.
So that's not necessarily good news when you combine lower sales tax projections with increased costs associated with these PSPS and declining revenue on a TOT. It quickly sort of exacerbates what is relatively benign as a problem becomes a bigger problem.
Right.
So we're watching it.
Any other council comment?
No.
Any public comment? Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve Resolution 1952?
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 1952.
There a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
If I could just add one more thing. Emily tells me our competitiveness for these funds is that much higher when they compare our emergency budget to our operations budget, and we have no emergency budget. So hopefully,
Well, there's some good news.
increases our competitiveness.
That point. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not Emily, she's funny. Always optimistic, that one.
Next on the agenda is item B. Public hearing to waive the second reading and adopt ordinance 490, amending chapter 15.04. Amy?
Madam Mayor and council members, this is the second reading of this ordinance, which will take our codes from 2016 to 2019, effective January 1st of 2020, when I am told the energy requirements become a little more onerous. So we have let people who have projects that have been approved know that we would be pushing them to get their building permits in by the end of the year so that they can take advantage of 2016 energy requirements prior to 2019. This does include the building code and the fire code, all appendices and chapters, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any council questions? Any other staff comments? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Public hearing open. No comment? Okay. Public hearing closed. If there's no other staff or council comments, is there a resolution to approve, motion to approve, I was looking at C, motion to approve ordinance 490.
I'll move to approve ordinance 490.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Okay. Now I can say resolution. Next on the agenda is item C, adoption of resolution 1951, approving the general plan amendment and rezone for 1180 Bush Street from single family to historic commercial. Is there any, yeah, there you are, yeah. Do you have any comment on?
She's up tonight.
Yeah.
It's her night tonight.
Madam Mayor and council members, basically, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this on October 17th. In between the council meeting and our meeting, it has changed ownership, and the new owners have asked that we proceed with the general plan amendment and rezone, which basically would take this from single-family residential to historic commercial on 1180 Bush Street. The reason we're not trying to legalize an existing duplex by going to R2 is because the owners want to retain the historic structure that is there. And if we went to R2, it could be torn down and 4 units added, as opposed to making it historical commercial, issuing a conditional use permit, which the Planning Commission has in fact already done. That would allow it to legalize the duplex, retain the historic commercial structure, and we are recommending that you approve Resolution 1951, amending the general plan, introduce Ordinance 491 to rezone, waive the first reading, hold a public hearing, and set November 19th as the date for the second public hearing before taking action to finalize the rezone. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well said.
We couldn't have said it better.
Thanks, Amy. If there is not any council comments, and then I will open a public hearing. Is there any comments? Nope. Okay. Public hearing open. No comments. Public hearing closed. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 1951, approving the general plan amendment and rezone for 1180 Bush Street to historic commercial, and waive the first reading and set the second reading for November 19th, 2019.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, next, another public hearing.
Those were the easy ones. Now we get into the more difficult
Now we
ones.
get into the,
Yay.
Yay. Okay, so this next item is about solar. Back in 2015, the state passed a law that said everybody had to adopt and allow rooftop solar on residences. And I stress rooftop solar on residences. So everyone, like lemmings, passed the model ordinance that was handed out for rooftop solar. Well, of course, we have now received applications for freestanding, non-rooftop solar for residential units. And that is the primary reason this has come before you tonight, was so that we may continue processing those. We have 2 pending applications right now who are trying to get tax credits before the end of the year and are waiting with bated breath to see if this can be passed. We also are incidentally addressing non-residential units, freestanding, in part because we did have a proposal to put a freestanding unit in the historic commercial district, and we wanted to make it clear that some things may not be compatible with historic commercial, such as a freestanding solar unit. Those things can be fairly large. At the same time, one of our commissioners said, hey, what if I want to have something freestanding solar on my house? So we have incorporated into here provisions for a conditional use permit in R1, R2, and R3 if you want freestanding solar on a lot less than 1 acre in size. If you want to have freestanding solar on a lot more than 1 acre in size, and you want to screen it from a public right-of-way, we can issue that without going through the conditional use permit process. That is basically what there is to this ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council?
I have a question on, so the freestanding, like, there's pictures that were included in here. It looks like this, like, their shutters or their awnings over their windows, are those solar panels? Are we allowing that type of freestanding? I mean, it's on your building, but it's not on your
No,
rooftop.
freestanding is not attached,
Freestanding is away.
is away.
So, but this would then be considered on your dwelling, and that is allowed.
Rooftop is allowed,
But anything like, so, okay.
So,
yes.
'Cause, yeah, to me, freestanding is away from your house.
is.
Rooftop is rooftop, but this
Yep.
is kind of, the picture shows kind of a gray area of like,
Right.
The windows, over the windows.
yeah, over the
Yeah.
windows. There's like,
Like an awning.
it's like an awning over the windows that are solar panels. And I mean, I don't mind the look of it.
We did not address that. That is
Okay.
actually something I have never seen an application for.
Okay.
Partly because of the angle,
Right. It's got to be pointing in the right direction.
got to be pointing in the right
You
direction.
don't want to be on the
so-
shady side of the building.
There you go. So we are in the process of, our SB2 grant will be issued for $160,000, so we can clean up any kind of loose ends like that, should we need to, when we do a comprehensive code update in the next year.
Okay.
so would it just be a complaint, or how would a complaint or something like this be stopped? Let's say the freestanding is really ugly. So how, I know there's, you can go to planning if it's brought to planning, but it wouldn't be going to planning, is that right?
No, it would.
Oh,
You have
would
to get a building permit.
Oh, okay.
And we would not issue the building permit unless you provided screening from a right-of-way a public right-of-way from which it was visible. You would have to provide screening, or else we would not approve it. If you're on a lot of less than an acre, you'll have to go through a whole public hearing process.
What do you consider screening?
Landscaping, solid fence, you got options. And it may be site by site, because in the case of one of our commissioners, he's below street level. So screening's going to be a challenge. And that would have to be determined through the conditional use permit process, how we would go about doing that.
So anything over an acre, you can do that,
As long
as long as
as,
it's screened.
as long as it's screened from view.
Anything under an acre, so like if you have a half-acre lot,
You need to get a
then
conditional
we
use
get
permit.
conditional use permit and go through the whole ordinance and hearings and the whole nine yards. Okay? But it's still doable.
Yeah, yes, it's still doable. Except in the historic district, where we are recommending you not do a freestanding.
That wouldn't work.
So if, say you've got to plant a shrub of trees or bushes, well, it's going to take 3 to 5 years for them to fully develop to hide it. So how do you, as long as the intent is there?
Screening means fencing or landscaping. So you can put a solid fence to do it also. And this is one of those cases where we're actually going to have to do a quick inspection of the site and work with the landowner to determine what's best for each site. Solid fence, or maybe you put up a fast-growing bush. Yeah, you're correct. Some of it may not be instantaneous screening.
So that's a really good question, because if the landscaping, if plants, bushes, trees don't screen it immediately, then does that makes it null and void? You know?
Okay.
I mean, screening is screening.
There is some discretion in the ordinance as it is written. We could make it solid fence, period. We left the discretion in there because sometimes it's visible from a roadway that somebody almost never travels on. There are some areas way out, sort of on the fringes, where probably even if somebody traveled on them, they'd be going 40 miles per hour and they probably wouldn't see it. So we take that kind of thing into consideration. Normally, if you're tightly packed, if you're tightly packed, you're less than an acre and you're probably getting a conditional use permit anyway. But you're right, that is a risk. And we could make it super tight and just say solid fence.
I like screening.
No, I just want there to be an understanding. that
Yeah.
because you had the same problem at Tractor Supply where the landscape is there, but it's gonna
takes
take
a while.
3 to 5 years
takes
for
time
it to
for the bush
fully
to grow.
create what that map was that was in front of us.
Yes.
So it's just understanding that. So what is the why do we want them screened off? I mean, what is the worry with it being?
They are generally considered not very attractive. They will usually be a minimum of 200 square feet, standing free in somebody's yard. They're very industrial looking, and people generally find them not consistent with a rural landscape.
So that was,
Yeah.
that was kind of my question, is, I mean, I don't want to tell my neighbors what they can and can't put up.
Right.
I mean, it's
But at the
a
same
couch on my
time,
neighbor's front lawn, I can't tell them to take it out. You know what I mean, or whatever, so.
Right.
As with
I
every
don't like
single
telling people what
one,
they can do with their piece of property either.
correct. As with every single one of these, it's a balancing act. You don't want to say no to solar.
Right.
At the same time, you want to be able to address the appearance of your city and the aesthetics. For example, all of our major highways go through all of our commercial centers, and if everybody decided they wanted a freestanding solar all through our central and shopping center commercial district, it would start looking like a solar farm. And that's something we certainly can allow. I think we would regret allowing that from an aesthetic standpoint, but we can certainly go that direction. If
I think 90% of them are roof mount anyways. Most companies don't like to put in
Yes.
the away, they like to do the, so.
is there any way to, for the screening process in regards to the plants, or can you give I don't know, a list of fast-growing, I don't know, oleanders come to mind.
I
because
know.
they're-
It does.
They grow anywhere, they don't take any water, they can grow on a freeway, they can grow anywhere. They're fast, they're big, and they're dense, you know, I don't know, something like that, or.
I would
Could we
normally-
get a list of, you know,
Yes.
here's some great plants?
Yeah.
There you go.
Use something like this, or any combination. So, because I understand, I don't want to tell my neighbor, it's like, you can't do that, because it's your land, do it. However, at the same time,
I don't wanna look
I
at it
also
either.
want to be a good
No,
neighbor and
no.
and have that aesthetics for our entire city, and those solar farms are ugly.
Yeah, they are. So
They're a turnoff, I mean, and that look is, it's ugly.
No,
So this is only inside the city limits?
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
talking about?
We can
maybe, yeah.
add, we can add the words fast-growing to
Right, if we can
landscaping
help 'em out,
in the
you
code.
know?
Oh, we will. Yeah.
It's like, I want to work with these people.
We're not going to have them plant cork oaks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Although I like
You went
brick.
through it with the charging station. I mean, it's just.
That's ugly.
So I'm not knocking, because I can see where this gets,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I just, I don't know, I'm just a little bit concerned. Because if the clinic were to put in what they have over at Sutter Health Hospital in Jackson, the freestanding in the parking lot, I mean, are we to deny that in a day of PSPSs when they're trying to, you know,
We would not, because they are in the community commercial district, and they would be allowed to apply for a use permit to do it.
Right, they're not residential and they're over an acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got the apartment complex and things like that.
And we
but-
have, in fact, added to make sure that apartments, which hadn't been previously considered residential, are included in here, so that if an apartment complex wants to do it, yeah.
Same thing. Okay.
So we've added that. We're actually expanding the variety of solar you can use, with the exception of freestanding solar in the historic district.
No, I think we're definitely coming a long way from where we were at. I think this is a great, big progress. But I just want to make sure that all the unintended, we're
Yeah.
thinking it through and we're not
Right.
making it more,
We'll be sorry.
especially in the days of power shut off, and if those are the investments people are making, we don't make it any more barrier and red tape for them to put those on their property.
Agreed.
And how do we define fast-growing?
Do that up to
No,
Amy.
I don't think we want to get that detailed in the
Okay,
code.
yeah.
Just
Get it done.
We can, and we can add fast-growing in the actual
Right,
code.
yeah.
If you'd like. That's not a problem. I
Dense,
think
fast-growing.
if we try to go too far out on a limb,
Yeah.
we'll regret it.
Yeah.
I think everyone should be nice with each other, hopefully.
Any other questions? Thank you, Amy, for going through that. Okay, with that, we will open public hearing. Is there, I don't do my knocker,
Open
right?
it.
Yeah. Public hearing open. Is there any public comment on this? Huh? Okay. Close public hearing. Is there a motion to approve, to hold a public hearing to introduce ordinance 492, waive the first reading, and set the second reading for November 19th, 2019?
So moved.
There's a second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I'm holding back my.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm still voting yes for now.
And point of clarification, before you take your vote, if you could clarify whether or not you wish to have fast-growing added.
I think so.
I do.
I agree. Be good to add fast-growing,
Do you want fast growing?
'cause otherwise it'd take a long time.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't know, I'm indifferent on that one. Because I think it also depends on just the, because oleander is just so ugly and toxic to animals.
No animals eat them because they're smart enough not to.
Well, not necessarily.
Only kids eat them, so it's
I don't think we should get into the details of it.
I think we leave that up to Amy. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an oleander, that was the
Right,
first
no,
one that came to
No,
my
but I
head.
don't,
I think we leave screening up
Incense
to the
cedar.
building, yeah, to, I don't know.
I think it should just leave to the planning department.
Yeah, that's mine.
To work with, because if there's new development and they want to redo their landscape, I think I just think there needs to be some flexibility.
I have a question. Can we add anything on the 19th? Can we add something on the 19th if we do our research and look at fast-growing plants?
Hearing,
Yeah,
reading.
the second one. Can we add anything then to this?
Yes.
I mean about the
Yes,
fast-growing.
to a certain extent. You don't want to do a
No.
major change, but if you want to do a refinement. we'll
Like a
call it
refinement, so we
refinement.
study our fast-growing plants.
One of your planners happens to have a botany background, just saying. Could probably figure that out.
So, somebody, who, what? I'm
My
sorry.
background's in biology
Oh, your,
and botany.
oh, your
so
background's, oh,
I would be able to figure that out.
oh, okay. Just saying, maybe give us a little report.
I think we're just getting too much into telling people what to do with their property, I'm sorry.
I mean, you could use
I
shade
just
cloth.
have,
Yeah.
I think we're just going overkill if we start picking and nicking that one.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, all I can say, though, is looking at the need for code compliance in our city, I don't know that we would necessarily be overstepping to say fast-growing plants.
I don't think so either.
But
Let's just leave it as is. It's up to the building department then,
Yeah.
for now.
I think
Or if you want to do your
I-
research, we can,
I'm gonna
we can refine it and you can do your research.
Thank
So
you.
I'll stick to my
I'll
first,
return with
I'm
my-
sticking to my first of, what was it? Introduce ordinance 492, waive first reading, set for second reading for November 19th, 2019. Do I have a second? I guess. I don't know.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. That was a nice, more conversation than I thought it would be. Okay, next, another public hearing. Oh my gosh, there's public hearings.
we're almost there.
I know.
And all Amy, too.
Killing us.
Okay, next is item E, hold a public hearing to introduce ordinance 493, waive the first reading and set the second reading for November 19th, 2019. This is amending the Angels Municipal Code, Section 17.06.130, 17.34.080, I don't need to read off, but I'm going to now, 17.78.010 through 17.78030. Amy, right?
Easy
Yeah.
for you to say. Okay, this is about ABC licenses. This came up during a planning commission meeting in which the applicant had to wait an extra 30 days before being able to serve alcohol at their small business in the historic district, because our process for the sale of alcohol, either serving it with food or anywhere, requires an ABC license. Conditional use permit, public hearing, staff report. We are proposing, the Planning Commission has asked that we introduce something called an administrative conditional use permit, in which we still notify all the property owners within 300 feet. We still notify the advisory agencies, so police and everybody would still be able to comment. But if nobody has a negative comment, then we would simply do an in-house issuance and not have to go to that public hearing, do the staff report, and wait the additional 30 days. That's basically it. The resolution about having the city planner make a finding of public convenience or necessity, we can't issue any ABC license in the city anymore without making that finding. We're already over the maximum. Sonora, Murphy's, everybody's over their maximum and always has to make that finding. So it's not terribly unique. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So this only applies to conditional use permit, not events or anything like that?
We've never addressed ABC licenses for events in the code, and we've
Okay.
never enforced the requirement for a conditional use permit.
Okay. Okay.
And if we did, it would have this would streamline it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other council questions? Okay, so we will open the public hearing. Any public comment? Okay, close public hearing. If there's no other council comments or staff comments, is there a motion to approve? Oh my gosh, I'm getting lost again. Yeah, to approve resolution 1950, authorizing the city planner to make finding of public convenience or necessity relative to the sale and service of alcohol, and move the second public hearing to November 19th, 2019, for ordinance 493.
I'll
So
move
moved.
to approve.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Rochambeau.
So moved.
One and two, whoever you want to put down, doesn't matter.
Okay, Linda Vaughn,
Sure.
Cutting red tape.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. Okay, last public hearing. Public hearing to introduce ordinance 494, waive first reading and set the second reading for November 19th, 2019. This is to amend multiple codes related to historic commercial development, parking in the historic commercial zoning, to reduce parking requirements and changes for projects. Amy?
Okay, this one came out of several hearings that we had at the Planning Commission in the Historic District, where it became evident very quickly that whenever somebody changed a use and had to do additional parking, we were working against ourselves. Because when you require new parking in an historic district, you're encouraging people to demolish existing historic structures in order to make room for parking. In addition, in the general plan, we recognized that the best way to improve parking downtown was to help improve signage and access to parking, not necessarily to level buildings and add new large parking structures. So, the balance, again, that the commission came up with was to require new parking when there is new building being built. So in other words, if you're going to change a use, except if it's a major change of use, we would not be requiring new parking. If you're going to add square footage, we would require new parking, or the payment of in lieu fees. We've put a few different categories for that. Something such as the Angels Hotel is probably the perfect example. The addition of the third story will require additional parking. A difference between what they currently would have had in parking had they built it, minus what they would need in parking for their change of use. We've included a formula for giving them credit for the parking that they would have had they have constructed it under the current code, and reduce that from what the requirement would be. That said, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any council questions?
No.
So now when we get complaints about not enough parking, we have something that we can use. Okay, with that, I will open public hearing. No public hearing, no, okay, closing public comment. Is there a motion to approve the introduction of ordinance 494, waive the first hearing, and set the second reading for November 19th, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you for bearing with me on that.
Good job. Complicated.
Yeah, I think I'd have it down by now. Okay, next on the agenda is correspondence. So we have 2 items on the correspondence. Item A is a thank you card from the Butler High School leadership, and second is a letter from Ray and Allison G. regarding traffic on Mark Twain, Gold Cliff, and Pacific Road, which I think we talked about in the last city council meeting about how we were going to address the public safety on that.
So we do have an update. COG did submit on the city's behalf a grant, a Caltrans grant, and this letter was provided as support for that grant. We did go ahead and tackle some of the landscaping on the Mark Twain side. I believe we received an updated complaint and concern that we didn't get enough of the landscaping, I believe, on the Pacific side of that corner. So we will work with Public Works and get them back out there to take a look at that. But I think sight distance has improved on the Mark Twain side with that project. But hopefully we'll be able to address planning more serious safe routes to school if we're successful in getting this Caltrans grant.
And are they aware of?
They are,
Yeah.
so we asked them to write this letter for the
Okay.
grant application. So we're thankful that they did. And, but we just wanted to share that it is a community concern, not just by them with a front row seat to the issue, but to others around the area as well.
And next is council reports, and I will start to my left with Councilmember Mitchell.
I attended the DAC meeting, and currently they're looking for, they're recruiting for their advisory council. Also, they're working on information regarding, they were doing for the TOT coming up, and also, of course, we're a very large component in reaching out to people for all our emergency services during the outage. And I will say that hats off to everybody that was behind the scenes. Debbie, you did an excellent job. She's over there, the unsung hero. I would like to just also say city staff really stepped up. I know that there's a lot of people that don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Of course, everyone was very concerned about what was going on in their own homes. and that's understandable, but at the same time, they had water. You know, we might not have had, you know, electricity, but they had water, and the police department was out there, you know, making sure that things were safe when it was relatively a ghost town downtown. You had our fire department stepped up, and again, you know, you guys in City Hall, you all, you stepped up. And the City Works, everyone. It's very much appreciated, and I've been trying to get the word out to the public on what you guys all did, because not a lot of people know, and you deserve a lot of credit and a lot of thank yous. So, thank you very much, all of you. You too, all of you, really, so.
And I saw improvement, you know, from our first one. Each event, we got better. And PG&E stepped up, bringing the tent kind of area for people to come to. So we seem to be a more fine-tuned machine in this last one. Yeah. That was very good. I would report, let's see, the museum, the digital docent is almost complete. They're having, the script is done just about, and they're going to be 34 stops, so you can have the digital docent give you, because we don't have that many docents to depend on, so this is going to be very good. I think it's really good, and this is the foundation is putting a lot of time and energy into that, and money. So then, also CVB, at their meeting, well, Martin has been especially working on, because he's so used to, you know, familiar with filming, he's trying to get the county, and I think even the city, but for sure the county, to reduce their charges that they have just to be able to come into the permit. And so they're trying to reduce that, so there could be more filming in the county. There's going to be one at Town Square, I think, in Copper, where there's going to be 100 single people for a TV show. So it's going to be very interesting.
I've never been so happy to live in Copper.
100 single people are going to be floating around town. 100 single people. Some TV thing. I told them that my son is single and he lives there, so, you know, hey.
Serves ice cream.
Let's get him involved.
Get ice cream.
Get one of them married off. Anyway. It's not easy. Anyway.
It's not easy.
Okay, and then also, let me see, I had one more thing written down. Oh, yeah, November 16th is going to be Angels Night Out. And and we'll have, you know, the music, and it'll be pretty similar to before, but we did have a successful Halloween, so, you know, the kids came down for Halloween, so that was great. Yes.
Top that.
Yeah. I just can't. I was supposed to have LAFCO. There was the LAFCO conference in Sacramento, but that was at the end of that PSP and everything, and work took over for me, so I was not able to attend that. I called and talked to John and let him know, and he was fine with that, but that's kind of the way it had to go down. I did do Trick or Treat Street down in Angels Camp with my boys, and they were hamburgers, hot dogs, and ketchup and mustard, and it was a good time. Everybody was walking around having a blast. So it was, hats off to everybody. It was a
good turnout.
There was a lot of kids running around, and a lot of adults. And
for our first event, I thought it was really well received.
So do I. It was very, so.
Nice to see some action downtown like that, yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, it was a great idea.
And an easy one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
You know.
candy and
Yeah, does everybody get candy?
yeah. And the kids were happy and running around, and it was fun. People were in and out of shops and.
Right, checking out town.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I did not recognize their faces, so they must be from out of town, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
Which was great.
I've heard really good things, and people are very happy about the constructions going on at like the McDonald's Shopping Center. To be able to get in and out of there and not have to deal with that funky turn, and people are happy, very happy that is being done. So, and hats off to everybody again, the PSP during the whole power outage, city employees and everybody did a great job. So, that's all I got at the moment.
So other than the PSPS, we had Wild West, and that was a great event, and that seemed to have a pretty good pretty good turnout. I presented on behalf with Lori from the fairground, the plaque. I can't remember his name right now. Logan, thank you. I knew it was an L. To Logan, and he gave a really good speech. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hope everyone went out and voted today. Today was the vote. You had your sticker on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went and voted.
I mailed it. Sent mine in. Mail in.
I didn't attend IIWMA, so I don't have anything to report if there's anything important on that. I don't know if it was canceled. But I know they were viewing Utica Water and Power's grant application. And Frank and Lori were working on that. And it's exciting to see some grant applications go through the process on that end. Back to the PSPS. I have been getting stopped at the grocery store and really positive comments. One of the biggest comments has been with the police department and the business association, reaching out to all the businesses, and just how proactive you guys were. So that was really nice to hear. Everyone was appreciative of all city staff. They thought that the city was well ahead of most communities in the region in responding to PSPS. Some of them lived outside of the county, and just they were impressed with what you guys delivered. And I think that really talks to the staff and stepping up and doing what was needed during that time. Thank you to Linda for covering Sunday. So Melissa could get a break and out of the office and working her butt off. And then thank you to Debbie and ACPA. One of the comments at the public meeting, Veronica was there one morning, was what businesses are open? And I unintendedly volunteered ACPA to get these businesses published, even though we knew the power was going to come back on, but we didn't know how fast these businesses were going to be able to actually open for business the next day. And ACPA was quick to respond to that public promise, and I think that showed outside of City Hall, community members stepping up to help us respond to the public concerns, questions, and comments, and that just shows just the type of community that we live in. And then there was a city barbecue just to make sure everybody was getting food and eating, and just the camaraderie that you guys all had, and just the energy. Veronica and I were talking about it. It just was really, it was inspiring to see you guys all work together and come together like that. So thank you, and looking out for each other and making sure, people were checking in and taking care of. So thank you for doing that for each other and keeping each other safe. And also the county was a big, Melissa worked really closely with the county, and they were able to get our PG&E rep up to one of our public meetings, and it was really nice to see that type of partnership come together and talk about how we were what's going on, what the solution short term, what could happen in the future to address those citizen concerns, and what resources were out there, really learning from each other at one spot. So that was really nice to come together with the county and PG&E to talk about those issues. And I think we also ended up on the news, KCRA.
Right. Yeah.
So thanks to Debbie for knowing they were in town and and pulling them quickly to show off the park and the station, the Resilience Center. So that is all. Yeah, just thank you. I think if we don't say it enough here at the board, you guys really, we are talking about it among ourselves, and we're really impressed with staff, and you all should be proud of yourself. So, yeah. So with that, we have calendar.
5:30 is COG, and following that, the transit committee meets. November 11th, city offices are closed in observance of Veterans Day. Then the 14th of November is at 6 PM is Planning Commission here. The 18th is LABCO. And we meet back here at 6 PM on the 19th. And on your calendar in front of you, on the 21st, we also have an 8:30 museum commission meeting. That's it.
Thank you. And with that is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
So
you said-
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I have a head down.
Well, I thought it was the two of you again. Threw me off.
She was waiting for me to say.
Oh, sorry, I had my head down, and I was just writing away.
And I was just kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to let Alvin say that. Tired?
I needed that pizza too. I was so hungry.
That's good.
It was like, I'm not gonna survive the night in a good mood if I don't have some food.
Well, we have our 5 o'clock, I guess.